What made me so uncomfortable about your inquiry during the week was to insist on asking how much did we spend on the house of that deceased woman. It's bad. It has got a bad taste. Here people are blessing an old woman who's no more. And then you guys want to be... It's like I gave money to my girlfriend, or I built my girlfriend a house with the EFF money. Want to see how much I've spent on such a poor woman. You want what that which has been spent on her to be splashed all over. I normally don't even go with journalists when we give people houses, because I don't want their poverty displayed in public. It humiliates them. Just that us going there with you, those people are humiliated by the display of their poverty. No, you comrades don't end there. You still go to them, wanting to know how much did they... We can give them 2 million, 5 million, any amount of money we want to give them. It's our money. It's not government money. It's a money that comes from party levies. The money that comes from government, comrades, is always dictated to on how you can, and on what you can spend it on. The money you can play around with to do this or that project of the EFF is party levies. We account only to our members about that. And I was asking myself, when you go and ask how much was spent on that old woman who even passed away, let's say it's 1 million, let's say it's 2 million. What do you want to achieve by that? That a 2 million was spent on a poor woman. It was so distasteful, and I was like, it came from Sunday Times, I don't mind. They can write whatever they want to write. I really don't care. I would have been worried if it came from Sunday World or something like that. Because Sunday World and them have got a responsibility, because they are not in the mainstream, controlled by to provide a balanced reporting. Like you, African? Inside Factor. You don't have to be pro anyone. You just have to give a balanced reporting, because they have taken side. That's why I'm saying Sunday Times. I'm not saying you, I'm saying Sunday Times. So that it must be clear you have nothing to do, because even you going to ask such things, you would have been put on an assignment to do so. I can't go to Parliament to pass laws on ratios. That's an elitist approach. We do activist approach. We must be on the ground. When we are on the ground and we realize this issue is big and it's a big problem, only then you can go to Parliament. Because we might be legislating an imaginary problem. I went to 3 restaurants. Personally, I don't know, there will be reports ultimately by all EFF. I went to 3. Where there was almost 50-50 staff members is cream. The rest was 70-30. The last one was actually 99.1%, because I've got 12 staff members, only 2 are not from South Africa. I can take out all of that and present it here. So and I'm like, it looks like perhaps in Cape Town, but here we might be dealing with some imaginary problem. But we're still on it. We'll find the outcomes through this campaign if we have a problem like that in the restaurant and hospitality industry. But it goes without saying in the farms. They hire people without papers because they don't want to pay them properly. I'm using Floyd's iPad here, so It has got a pin. It keeps on closing, and I don't know the pin, and it doesn't want to give me the pin. Bruno Mtolo. Lamola is Bruno Mtolo. What he does with his life, we're less interested, Shem. He has got no, whether he becomes a deputy president of the ANC and ultimately government, is Bruno Mtolo. I don't even know why Lindiwe responded to Lamola. He's a baby, he's got no credentials, none whatsoever. He's a product of factional arrangement. Lamola became deputy president of the Youth League because I went to speak to DD, not because I identified talent in him. I went to speak to DD that we need Mpumalanga to support us. He said to me, but Mpumalanga has been overlooked. Okay, what do you mean? He said, I will give you a solid province on condition you make one of us deputy president. And I said, who? He said, Lamola. I said, no problem. I know Lamola from Univen. He was a SRC president or something. And then from there, I've never known him. But when he said Lamola, then I knew Lamola is David Masondo's boy. And me and David Masondo worked well together before. So I was like, if he has had some interactions with David, surely he should be having some idea of what we're trying to pursue. That's how he became the deputy president of the Youth League. He didn't become the deputy president of the Youth League because he was a champ rising through the ranks of the Youth League. No, he was not. I even doubt if he was a chairperson of a branch in Boksburg region or a region or province. If he was province, it's those things of just going there so that you prepare to come to national. But he's a product of an arrangement. He didn't come on his own, where the leadership of the Youth League identified talent. You see Makaka, Sindiso Makaka. That was a talent established on the ground by the leadership of the Youth League. That was a pure talent that came through the ranks of the Youth League, not through some arrangement. Now he wants to contest DD, his political mentor, the man who made him what he is today. There's a Pedi saying, I forgot it, something, something like that. Bruno Mtolo utlaba DD. So but who is he? I mean, we should be worried if he was going to be a threat or anything. He won't be a threat. He is a young man who suffers from uncontrollable ambition for power. Why would he want to be deputy president ahead of his generation? There's a generation that came before him in the Youth League. There's a generation, Yabo Malusi, Yabo Lulu Johnson, Yabo Mbalula. When you are a leader, you don't talk about yourself. You talk about those who came before you. When Mbalula came to me and said I must be president of the Youth League, I said to him, I can't be president of the Youth League ahead of Zitles Galala. No, Zitles Galala and them, they are the last generation before us. So you are guaranteed, once we put Zitles Galala, the president of the Youth League, this generation is going to leave. And then from there, we will come in as a generation, right? And then dynamics at the time could not allow. But I was like, if this generation can't find each other amongst themselves, we are left with no option but to take this responsibility. And I was making a miscalculation because it was actually our generation that dominated the Youth League at that time. That's why when Zitles Galala and Saki Mufokeng went to lock people in the rooms and said, we must not address them, Those people called us to jump the walls when their leaders locked rooms and went to dine somewhere in their absence. They called us that the leadership is gone. Please make a plan to jump the wall and address us inside here, and then you can jump back. By the time they come back, you would have finished. That's how we won that conference. And they made a mistake because they didn't know that they were not appreciating that there is a younger generation here, which Julius and them came with it from COSAS. But when I was first approached, I didn't say, hey, me, I've been waiting for it. I said, but there are people ahead of us. That's how we're brought up. That you never contest ahead of your generation. I mean, ahead of a generation that came before you. So that's what he must be doing. But there is no longer discipline. So there's no longer even a generational rubric. There is no longer center. There is no longer leadership. Everybody, the membership is actually the leadership. People who are supposed to be members, they are leaders themselves. So once members become leaders, it's a problem. Because that thing you lead by a layer, you build first, second, and third layer leadership. Then they come like this. They follow each other like that. Amar, you can't tell people who are driven by faction and undesirable for power that there are people ahead of you. Or it's my time to eat. Well, the continent is not going through what could be described as a crisis per se. I think on the side of the West we're experiencing a bit of difficulty, and ECOWAS is actually dealing with it decisively. Burkina Faso must be dealt with decisively, both by UN, not UN, AU, and ECOWAS. And that one who dissolved his cabinet, it's his prerogative. It's not a declaration of a crisis. I think it's more of an internal issue than any other thing. He's a president who's struggling with getting relevance in Malawi. And he overpromised and is finding difficult to deliver. And therefore he wants to be blaming it on other people. So maybe he will win. Sudan, till today, we still have problems there. A religion has been used to divide the African people. We've got a crisis in Ethiopia as well. We hope it will be resolved. There should be peaceful African solution to all of those African problems. But as you know, we were from time to time going through tribulations as a continent, and we should be able to find permanent African solution. I didn't know about the UN people being here. I'm getting it for the first time. I don't know. They should have passed by Konka. Maybe we would have seen them. That they are UN people here. But where we go, I've not seen any UN DP. SG. I've not seen anyone like that. So we'll follow it up after this to check if there is such a thing. Parliament fire is really a negligence matter. There's no one who burned Parliament. It's like that thing of the fire day of Waterkloof. If there are such conspiracies, then they must also apply in Waterkloof, because everywhere, every time there is a fire, there must be Christmas. Yeah? Christmas must be everywhere. There's fire, there's Christmas. That thing is neglected. You know, I like property, so I pay much more attention into property development and all of that. The way it burned is so interesting. It burned from the roof, and in the roof, that's where you have a lot of wires. And you know, unlike now, in the past, people who were doing electrifications, air cons and all of that, they will just leave wires moving like this. If you get into most old buildings' roofs, it's a mess. But now the regulation is such that they must all be organized and then put together somehow, so this in a tube of some sort, so that there is no such a thing that the possibility that might have occurred in Parliament. So there, with honesty, I suspect the rats went to eat the wires. And then these wires came into contact and caused a spark. But because they don't want to take the responsibility, they go to a homeless man. Because if that is the case, then someone in Parliament must take responsibility. Because firstly, what are the rats doing there? The place must be fumigated from time to time. There must be rat traps and all manner of things. But equally, those wires in this day and age should have been put inside this tube thing we're talking about. So if in the past they were like that, with new renovations that are taking place in Parliament permanently, and we don't see what they are renovating, they should have gone to reorganize those wires and make sure that even if one is loose, it doesn't come into contact with the other one to avoid causing the spark. The fire department, Cyril said Cape Town is a working metro, what, but that metro also, the inspectors should have picked it up long time ago. From time to time, they must inspect if we are fire compliant. And they should have picked it up that your wires are not in order. You need to put these wires this way, otherwise we're revoking the occupational certificate of Parliament. There is no Christmas who did anything. That's how that thing of they carry, the heavy thing we wanted to carry the other day and removed from Parliament. Mason. Mace was saved because Mace was here on the corridors and the fire was up there. Because I'm told GP the passages have not burned of Parliament. It's the roof. So come on, man. Christmas with all his sophistication, how can he plan to bend the roof and make sure the passages are not? It's a technical problem and someone must take responsibility. Two people, Thandi Modise and the current speaker, Noziviwe, and the Secretary of Parliament. Anyway, if these two politicians can't take responsibility, the Secretary of Parliament must take responsibility. Because Parliament belongs to the Secretary of Parliament. She must fall on a sword. I don't know why she's still Secretary of Parliament. You know, a person who shows remorse, even if there was nothing wrong that she did, she must just say, out of respect, you had assigned me to look after this place, and I did not do what was expected of me. Whether it is bent, whether it's a technical fault, or whatever reason that is going to come at the end, Secretary of Parliament by now should have resigned and said, let's say Christmas banned it. Where was Secretary of Parliament when Christmas was banning her Parliament? Because she should have put all systems in place to make sure that no one ever gets into that Parliament. Especially after Mbeki incident, where an intruder went into Mbeki's office, it's an office or a house, and was drinking Mbeki's things there. For the whole week, sat there without any interference. So clearly, from that time until now, we should have improved the security of that place. That should have served as an alarm. You call yourself a Secretary of Parliament, from that Mbeki incident until now, you have not done anything to secure Parliament. An honorable, innocent member of staff of Parliament would have resigned. She can't resign. She's a deployee. cadre deployment, she's waiting for them as a mascot for them to tell her, no, you have to resign. She must resign because Parliament belongs to her. For whatever reason, Parliament has banned. The same thing with Waterkloof. Whoever is in charge there, the Secretary of Defense, must take responsibility and step down. You can't ban the assets of the public and there are no consequences. Someone must, with humility, I'm not saying I've done anything wrong, but the fact that this thing banned under my own supervision, I failed to. I therefore wish to leave. I don't know why Floyd by now, they even asked that Secretary of Parliament, why are you not resigning? I'm not saying you must resign. I'm asking you, why is your conscience not telling you that you must resign and do a right thing? So that South Africans, as they continue to investigate, they know that at least there's one person who took responsibility. Till to date, Parliament has burned to ashes. We are going around asking for spaces to hold Parliament.